This podcast contains strong language and adult themes.
Date Night China explores life and love for better relationships in China. Every week, we hear from different guests and dive into dating, relationships, mental health, and how both expats and Chinese people connect with each other here in China.
Join the Date Night community through our podcast and events in Beijing and Shanghai, and catch up on all the latest stories on our official WeChat account.
Find our account on WeChat by searching Date Night China, no spaces, no capital letters. You can also join our WeChat group by adding Rachel, me, on WeChat. You can search Rachel Weiss 22, RACHEL WEISS 22.
And now for this week's episode. Hello and welcome back to Date Night China, episode 19. This week, 4 friends, Winxi, Diana, Simona, and Eden, created the O Collective to inspire all women to be confident and happy with their intimate selves by recognizing their physical needs and their own definition of pleasure.
They believe you don't need to be ashamed or shy to explore your body, and they help provide women with safe and reliable products, a trusted community, and content that offers 100% good vibes only.
Their articles, videos, and other content talk about everything from period sex, consent, STIs, and losing your virginity to masturbation, vibrators, BDSM, and kink tests to try with your partner.
Ooh, so there's lots of good stuff that the O Collective does, and we're so excited to have two of you girl bosses joining us today. So thank you, Diana and Winxi, for joining us.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited to be here.
We're so excited as well. I feel like I've been following you guys for a while and seeing a lot of your content on WeChat, and you have a podcast and you have really awesome products as well. So you are doing so many great things. And let's just back up a little bit because we've got 2 of you girls here tonight. So let's start with you, Diana. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how long you've been in China, what are you doing here in China before the O Collective? And then also, why is the O Collective important to you?
So many questions. Let me start with I'm originally from the US. My family is Taiwanese though. So my parents immigrated there and I was born in the US. And then I actually spent a lot of time in Canada before I moved back to Asia. And then I was in Taiwan for 5 years, and I've been in Shanghai now for 8. So it's been a long journey here in China, but it's been great. I originally came here for work, actually. So I used to be in media advertising at a big agency, and then shifted to a sports brand here in China, and then the O Collective. For me personally, it was such a open space to grow myself and bring kind of confidence to myself about something that I think many women forget, and we don't prioritize. And ultimately, a lot of these things put together, especially about intimate wellness, can really benefit your life, especially when you're in a big city, stressful environment, carrying the weight of kind of the cultural expectations of an Asian woman. And I think even conservative families with a lot of different types of traditional values of what they expect of you.
How about you, Winxi?
So I'm from the Netherlands, same as Diana, also Chinese background. I've been living in Shanghai for almost 6 years. Came to Shanghai on a corporate job, actually. I recently left my job and doing the O Collective full time. And to me, I think the community is what makes the O Collective so great. We have this amazing community of women that really support each other. And it's not only about sexual wellness, but also about sexual health. As a woman, it can be sometimes very daunting. For example, should I do a pap smear? Where do I do a pap smear? To which gynecologist should I go? And those are questions that in the past have always been topics that are a little bit difficult to discuss with friends and with people. And I think with this community, that topic has really been opened.
Yeah, I think it's great because I think there are so many stigmas, especially for women talking about sex, sexual health, and you can feel this kind of shame or shyness about how to talk to it, about it, where to talk about it. Can you talk to your friends, your family, professionals? What do you do? So it's amazing that you've created this like platform and community for that. And we're going to talk more about the O Collective and what you guys have done, but let's back up a little bit. And can you tell us about your dating experiences, whether it was in China or out of China, but how kind of were your experiences shaping what your life was pre the O Collective? How about you, Diana, start first?
Yeah, I think I'm relatively like an outgoing person in general, but then when it came to dating, I think because of having kind of like more traditional conservative upbringing, or like cultural values, it was a very hard space, and everything I learned was through my friends. And I feel like that's not necessarily the best way. There's a lot of like misinformation that gets shared, or what is expected of you at certain ages. So I didn't feel like it was really easy for me as a very social person and outgoing, in general, and being like confident with myself about asking for things that I expected in that. And then when I came to China, it felt like a different vibe. I think it's very transient city. So the expectation of like a long-term relationship doesn't necessarily exist with a lot of the people you do meet here. And there's such a bigger pool of options, with like digital media becoming such a kind of elevated way of dating. It really changed how I could meet people. And it's very hard, because I think when you're online swiping left and right, it's a very like material, like superficial way of looking at things, because you're just looking at the visual in the moment. But then when you actually start talking to them, probably out of like the thousands that you're swiping, there's only maybe 5% that you will talk to, and maybe 1% of that you will actually add on WeChat. And then like, I don't know, 0.0% that you actually meet in person. But then when you do meet them, the face-to-face chemistry isn't the same. And it feels like actually a bigger toll in terms of how the dating world is for you, because you've put in a lot of effort, and then you're also spreading yourself so thin. And I think that it changes your perspective about things. It's easier to just go onto the app and look for somebody else when it's not really working anymore. And I think that has been like the major shift in maybe the last 10 years of experience dating here in China, particularly, when before it was like a face-to-face through your friends, going out, much more personal. And then you would actually make an effort to make things work, or try much harder, because you really believed in that chemistry that you have. So it's a major shift for sure.
Yeah, it's very interesting hearing that, because every time we ask this question, we always feel like we get like different answers. Like we've had a previous episode only recently where somebody experienced it to be quite a freeing experience coming to China, having those expectations and that conservative sort of family and upbringing back in their home country, and then coming to China, it's kind of like starting again, and like nobody knows who you are, and you've got this opportunity to just, draw with a blank canvas and just say, right, this is me and this is who I am, romantically, sexually, career-wise, with my friends. So it's interesting hearing a completely different perspective and saying, I didn't find that at all.
But we do have the opposite side of people who say like dating in China is the worst thing ever. Don't do it. It is such a spectrum, because everybody has such a different experience.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Winxi, how did your dating when you arrived in China? Was that something similar to Diana, or was it completely opposite?
Yeah, it's really hard to date in China. It's especially in Shanghai. No one really arrives in Shanghai to stay for years. It's pretty transient. People come here for 2 to 3 years, and then they leave. They come here to make money and not really to build a life. So sometimes it's quite hard to meet someone that is here on the longer term. So I found dating in Shanghai quite hard, actually, compared to other people.
Yeah. I mean, I think that totally makes sense. When I was single and dating in China for 5 years, like it was hard. It was really hard. And I think for like women's perspective as well, it's just
I was
kind
going to
of
say,
different.
as a guy, it's like, no,
Yeah.
I don't think it's hard at all. But like, I think that's because I'm a
It's
guy.
like it's like amazing, right? Because you have so many options and variety to choose from, and yeah, so much to learn from
Yeah.
like local women and foreign women here, I think. So I think for women it's like a little bit harder, right?
Yes.
Oh, for sure. For
Yes.
sure. You have it way harder.
Yes. And how about now? Are you in a relationship? Are you single?
I can go first. I'm like recently single, due like with the lockdown and everything and visa problems. And so, yeah, so recently single. So I've actually had great experiences dating as well in China. I don't want to make it sound like it's a complete nightmare because it's not. But yeah, yeah, unfortunately, recently single.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but hope it's for the best and
It's
hope
okay.
good things come in your
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, COVID can be
Yeah.
it's torn asunder a lot of romantic relationships. You know, COVID's been a real bitch.
Yeah. How about you, Winxi? Single in a relationship?
I am currently in a relationship with a Dutch guy. And yeah, we've been in a relationship for 2 years now. Met in Shanghai during COVID and still together.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, congratulations. COVID couples, that's a thing as well.
Yeah, COVID couples.
couple.
Yeah, we're a COVID couple. Yeah.
So you guys, can you tell us about your own personal journeys then with sexual wellness, your own journey with just kind of discovering how to be empowered with your sexual identity, whether by yourself, when talking with friends, or with your partners? How about Winxi, you start first?
I think when I was growing up, sexual wellness did not really exist. So my parents are quite traditional. So it was always, you're going to get married, you're going to have babies, and that's going to be your life. So when I was growing up and I moved to Shanghai, I met these girls, the girls from the O Collective, and every weekend we would come together and we would just talk about sex, and it was kind of like Sex in the City Shanghai. And it made me and it made the girls realize that having a support system and this little group where you felt really comfortable about sharing and there's no shame to share about what you prefer, what you do with partners, your sexual health. And that was just great. It just made it so important to know that there are women out there that do support your sexual wellness, your confidence, and it's okay to like whatever you like. And that's kind of a little bit been my journey into sexual wellness. And that's also what empowers me to have like this supportive community and supportive group of women to really kind of like lead the way.
Yeah. How about you, Diana?
For me, I think I was pretty exposed to a lot already, like as a teenager, probably much younger. And because I was like I was living separately in like homestay and stuff. So I had a lot of freedom to do what I wanted. So a lot of my friends, because I grew up when I was in high school, I was in Canada. So I was growing up in a much more open space and environment. Probably like overexposed to things that you shouldn't be at our age in high school or middle school. But yeah, I feel like a lot of my friends had always been super open about it, but my probably family and parents never spoke of it. Like it was a very, like nobody talked about it. Essentially, we weren't like allowed to date or talk about dating, and they didn't like, don't ask, don't tell type of situation. So I've always been quite open and like willing to explore. And I think I've always had friends that have been super open to it. And that's kind of like a lot of where my really close friends, like our connections are, not because of just this topic, but just how open we could be with each other. So the only thing that kind of like enhanced more with the O Collective for me was exploring deeper into certain kind of interests in like the sexual world or the BDSM world. And that was really cool, I think, for us, because probably out of curiosity I was interested, but we didn't know where to start. And we have met so many people along the way that are very into like different types of kinks, different types of things. And that had really helped me personally kind of be more explorative in that way.
And that's really, that's really a great testament to some of the cultural elements of being in China. Is just that communities can be so strong here, right? Like I think it's like coming here and more so than I've experienced anywhere that I've lived, especially outside China, but like communities, you can find an interest, you can find a support group and friends. And from that, look at everything that you're all doing now, and that was built from a really established and very strong community. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. So let's talk. You guys both come from like a Western background, or you grew up in other countries, right? And then coming to China or having the cultural tie to East, versus West kind of thing. How do you feel that the female intimate wellness industry is different in China and being here, and how you market here, how you talk about things on your platforms here versus for your Western audience or for Western industries in general?
Yeah, that's a good question, because the Western world is a little bit more open in terms of what you can share, but actually the reality is it's still very censored, and there's still a lot of kind of shame around it. So we were actually very surprised as well, like going out into the Western world, we were blocked for a lot of things. We could share a little bit more, but for advertising, for example, and this is kind of a big thing amongst a lot of the foreign female like empowered brands, and is that we get blocked for so many things. Our accounts are shut down, often. And for example, like an ad for Viagra can be shown, but a girl wearing underwear or like a tiny bit of cleavage showing is not okay. So that has been a really big learning curve for us in China, or like in Asia in general. There's a little bit more we have to be aware of, because censorship, of course, is a lot tighter. So we're very careful with like the words we use. We use like a lot of innuendos and that type of thing. So that's kind of the biggest difference, I would say. From the topic in itself, actually, there is no difference. Like women all over the world have all the same different types of needs. And I would say the Western world of women are also relatively under wraps about this topic still, and not comfortable talking about it as openly as I think, because we've surrounded ourselves with women that are very, very open, but actually a large majority still feel a lot of like shame, and there's a lot of taboo around it. So that has been one connecting thing, I think, that has been resonated in any of the markets that we've kind of started working on.
That is so surprising. You would think that the West would be a little bit more open, or I guess I had that idea as well. Just being in China, you're aware of the censorship, about certain rules and what you can't do here. But it's interesting that in the West, there still are some rules and stigmas and things that you have to follow about that. How about you, Winxi? Yeah. What do you think?
I think in general, a lot of people think in China, because it's still quite traditional, that women might not be into sexual wellness, sexual health. But what we really notice is that there is this new generation of women that is independent, that wants to have their own career, and they're really going after what they want in life. And it's not necessarily getting married anymore at an early stage, but just exploring life. And you definitely see that in China, once things are picked up, it can also go really, really fast with trends. And that's also what we're seeing with sexual wellness. When we first started in Shanghai 1.5 years ago, at that time, a lot of people were still a little bit shocked that we're doing this type of product, and we wanted to promote this type of topic. And then 1 year after, suddenly all the girls were coming to us, and there was this tipping point where women said, we love what you're doing, we love what you're promoting, we really, really support it. And you see that it got picked up really, really fast, and people's minds also changed really fast. And you kind of also see that also in online presence, that people are really loving the topic and promoting the topic. And to be really honest, even when we talk to women in Europe, for example, yes, sex toys are available everywhere, but the topic is not really talked about. It's still quite taboo. So I feel like both in China and both in Europe, women are still at the stage of getting into normalizing the topic and starting to talk about the topic. I don't think there's a super big difference in it between the West and here in China.
That must have been reassuring in a way to, to talk to the market and start to talk to people and realize there wasn't much of a gap between what you were familiar with, the mindset and that sort of repressed or like that taboo nature, and then finding that, it's quite similar here, so we can move forward. You didn't have to like completely shift your thinking to think, right, how do we even approach this market? Because like you said, there's a lot of commonalities between, people in China and also people like women everywhere else.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And in the end, I guess our bodies are actually quite similar to each other, no matter what culture we're from, what country we're from. It's all very, very similar to each other. And it's also the same from a product perspective. And yeah, we also noticed, like, definitely in Europe, we recently launched our products, and the feedback has been really similar to our products. Girls love it, but they're often still a little bit shy in talking about the product, promoting the product. But now, 6 months later, they're also really loving the brand, and they love the topic that we're trying to normalize. And it's kind of like the same pattern and the same movement that we saw in China also happening in Europe. So we're really happy about that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well done. That's really cool, though.
We're actually looking, you can't see this, viewers, but we're actually looking at their backgrounds, their Zoom backgrounds. They have their products in there, and one of them, the one that we're looking at right now, do you think it looks like a cute little dinosaur, like a little bronchiosaurus, with a long neck? So use your imagination,
the blue
listeners.
one.
yeah use your imagination, listeners, to imagine where the long neck goes.
What kind of sex toy that is.
Yeah,
so many places it could go.
Exactly.
And I love on your Instagram, though, you guys are great. Your marketing, your videos are so good, though. I love.
The marketing's great.
It's very trendy, but it makes it very accessible. And you guys like do a lot of like shows and how to review it and like talking about it. It's really, really cool.
Thank you. I think this is like the credit that we will give to our corporate experiences is like we've worked on like very international big brands that really care about branding and the storytelling of things. And I think that kind of echoes into a lot of the creative that we have, and actually the entire box experience of when you get the product to how it feels. And, everything has been, we've put a lot of thought into it because we as consumers, also coming from like marketing backgrounds, we feel like that's so important to, as a female, to open a box and just get more excited, but not feel shame from it is so important. So that's really something that we put a lot of effort into.
Oh, wow. I never really thought about the psychology of that, actually.
Yeah, it's like opening like Apple products, right? When you open a Apple product, like the way that the sticker opens in the plastic and the way you pull it out and just like that look and feel, it's incredibly important for how a consumer experiences that first look.
Yes, and also to add on, we as women, we are always promoting you shouldn't be ashamed for using sex toys, and we really wanted women to relate to us. So we also decided to put our picture with the four of us on the back of the packaging. So when people see the product, they see the bag, they see, hey, these are the girls that are using these products, creating these products. And it's okay to buy this. And it's okay to, take it home and to not be ashamed about what you're buying.
Yeah, you're like putting your face to it. It's very personal and it's human. Like it's not something to be shy about.
Yeah, I think it's like a nice, the ones that have worked the most is like when people meet us, because we actually are just the everyday woman, like we're not like a creepy guy behind the scenes, like trying to like tell other women how to have an orgasm. But, we're just, and we're not like crazy kinky girls either. We're not like in this, I don't know, like there's always this assumption in the beginning when people meet us there that we're very promiscuous or we're this certain way or we're like very naughty and things like that. But actually we're just like the very normal people that have, normal jobs with normal relationships and face all the same issues that all women face in their life.
Well, actually, we can identify with that actually, because when we have the podcast, we set up and we've got the microphones. Usually, when we have guests over, we have it on the couch, and I think sometimes people like wonder like what type of people we are. Like, is this going to turn into an after party afterwards, or?
Because we do interview people like in the kink scene and BDS, and because we're talking about it a lot, I think there is the assumption like, oh, you guys must be into some really kinky things, and no shame at all. We do love and support people that do, but we're just kind of just everyday.
Maybe people. Some people might have been disappointed. It's like, oh wow, we went on the show and they didn't offer to have a foursome. That was nothing happened. But I think that comes part of the territory of talking about stuff like this, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you guys, I know, like, share a lot of, like, very openly share about different relationships, different experiences and things like that. So I can see why some people may think that, like, you guys are a certain way, as well.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we are. Well, we got to keep that allure of mystery. Keep the mystery.
Yeah. I mean, our slogan is like, one of our slogans is just like you, but a lot of our products just says, just do you. Literally. So
yes,
just do you. Whatever you guys, whatever you guys are into, just do it.
Love it.
So my next question, I guess, hearing a little bit about how you started this intimate, support and community sharing that was established, and you talked about your marketing and media backgrounds and that sort of process from the product to the end user experience. You mentioned something earlier, like jokingly, but I want to know if there's any truth behind it. Like, have you ever done a community event or had any online discussions where you've had like men like mansplaining like orgasms or sex toys or like kinks and BDSM? Have you ever had any sort of like difficult community interactions? That's what I really want to know.
It could be a man doing something. It could be.
Doesn't have to be a man. Doesn't have to be a man.
Person who kind of looks at your community and just kind of has an interesting take on it, because we kind of get a lot of interesting people who try to engage with us sometimes. So I guess we're curious, what's your experience been like with some people?
So we were actually at this market called Common Rare. It's a market in Shanghai where upcoming designers and brands, they go there, and then people can visit your booth and you can talk about your products. And it was our first event. So we were for the first time there with the O Collective. And it's actually really funny to see, because it's the first time you really see people seeing your products in real life versus people buying it from the internet. And some people are really enthusiastic about what we're doing. And other people are really, really shocked. They really think, oh my God, these girls are standing there with dildos and what are they doing? And it's really, really not okay. And there are also people that look at us and they directly turn around and walk away, and they really feel kind of like shocked about it and also very ashamed. There are a lot of people that are very, very ashamed. We've really experienced people loving the brand and really hating the brand. The funny thing is the people that were there at the Common Rare market for a couple of days, some people were really shocked in the beginning, but then when they were seeing us explaining the product for days and they see other people loving the brand, promoting the brand, they kind of turned around after a couple of days. They felt like, oh, it's actually okay to like this type of product, and it's okay to buy this type of product. And the girls are actually really nice. So it's definitely something nice to see that there is a turnaround in the end when people get to know us and learn little bit more about what we're doing with the O Collective. And maybe Diana can share a little bit more about our online community.
Yeah, I wanted to say, like, yes, there are a lot of situations. I don't know if it's necessarily a lot of mansplaining, because a lot of people who meet us assume that we probably know more than them, knowing what we do. But there actually are more men that we meet that are actually just curious because they are unaware. We like to tell, like, our community as well, is like, it's not that necessarily men are like ignorant or, trying to be kind of dicks about it, if I can say that, on your podcast. But it's more that because they weren't shared that type of information, that it kind of opened like another space for them, especially I think the local men that we meet, because no one is talking about it, or they don't really have access to where they can learn more about it. And even their partners are not that open to share with them their feelings or perspective about this, that they really come to us to learn more. They want to know, they want to understand, they want to know where the clit is, because no one's ever told them, except for like in porn or whatever they've seen it. So, and they really are curious to how to use these products. And a lot of them have been excited, like and it's not in a creepy way. They're excited to buy it and try it with their partner. And we love that, because we think that it's just a kind of to say that, yeah, not all, I think, men that are exposed to it are against it or negative towards it or think it's bad. It's really, truly just because they just don't know. And I think the more we openly share about this information and really normalize the topic, then there is no shame in the future for a man to ask a woman about this, or a female to share what they feel about it to their partners. Definitely, like, the LGBTQ community has been way more open to all of this. So that has been really a great community for us as well. And they've taught us a lot of things as well, because our product right now, we only have 3 products. Well, we have like a couples pack, and then these 2 products that you see in our Zoom backgrounds. But they've also shared different ways that they've used with their partners when it's within that community or that way. And it's been really cool to hear different ways how you can use it. One of my favorite was like, it was between 2 female couples, and they told us that you can actually strap on, like the one right behind me, this pixie, this one, the palm clitoral one, you can just strap it to your hip or strap it to your knee and use it as that to kind of engage with your partner. And that was really cool to learn. And then I, took it to my own practice, and it was really fun to experience different ways of how to play.
I can see Nathan think, yeah, can see Nathan thinking. He's like, how does it work? So how it works is you put it, for example, on your upper leg, and then your partner is riding the leg on the vibrator. Do I explain this right, Diana?
Yeah. So you can strap it onto your leg or your thigh, and then you can thrust with it or whatever it is. We've also used our products on men as well. So it's not just female. I think there's like a huge perception that it's only for women and it's to replace men. It really isn't. It's supposed to just enhance for you to explore yourself, but enhance your experience with your partner. You can actually use these products on men as well. And we've tried and tested, and it's been mostly positive feedback. So yeah, for men to also just be open for it.
Yeah. And I think also in our community, one of the things that we hear a lot from the girls in the community is, a vibrator is a man's best friend in the bedroom. It's his wingman in the bedroom. Yeah. Because a lot of men do feel a little bit intimidated by it, but then we girls always say it's the wingman of the men in the bedroom.
Yeah. It's it's a pretty good wingman. Yeah.
So someone said the other day, they were like, why would I be against it if it's helping me and making it more pleasurable for her, and for me to be able to see her experience a different type of pleasure when we use it together, So I thought that was cool that they didn't feel intimidated by it. But actually it was funny because our new couples pack actually has a cock ring on it as one of the 4-in-1 toys. And he was so open to promote us using and women using it in the bedroom with their partners. But then he was like, yeah, I'm not really into the cock ring thing. I don't think I need it. So I just asked him to please try and be open towards it before he makes that decision.
You're touching on like a broader subject that we talk about, and we've not really dived into this season. We've not dived into it, but the ideas of, I guess, like masculinity and what it means to to sort of give pleasure and receive pleasure, and man's the man's role in that, and I think attitudes hopefully are shifting. But you know, the reason why some people may not be that comfortable is, you know, because of that perception of what a man should be doing in the bedroom, and you know, and relying on a machine, something like that. But I mean, that's probably a whole other podcast, right? That's a whole other episode, maybe several. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, hats off to the guys you're mentioning though, who are curious, who are opening up, because maybe some guys are on a different journey with that. Like you were mentioning, Nath, maybe some guys aren't there, but the guys that are and are interested in learning, like, I think that's the first step, is being curious about it. And they're like, hey, I just want to help her have more pleasure. Like, it's a win-win, right?
Yeah, what I also wanted to mention is, I think for women, at least in the past decade or forever, actually always, is we are not really very confident to share about what we like. And I think the reality is that only 75%, more than 75% of women, they can't really have an orgasm through regular penetrative sex. And most women do need stimulation of the clitoris to have an orgasm. So it is actually really handy to use a toy to help a man stimulate that during sex. But it is something that a lot of men don't really know. It's also something that, is not really openly shared. And I think it's also because we women have always been a bit shy to share about that. But we see now that more and more people and couples are also opening up about that. And yeah, that's why we also created this couple set called the Dream Team, because we really felt like we wanted to give the audience something that is explorative. And a lot of couples also ask us, you know, we do want to spice things up in the bedroom, but we have no idea how to start, what to use. There's so many toys already on the market, and sometimes it's a little bit daunting. And what we also hear is not every toy works for every person, which is okay, because every body is also different and every body might like different things. So this kit is 4 different products with a little spinner in the box that's help you choose what type of product to try first. And they're all different. And so they're all different products. Yeah. And there is also a big butt plug in there. So it also says, please not the butt plug on the spinner. So it's a really, really fun game for people to
You said there's a big butt plug. It's not just a butt plug. It's a big butt plug.
It's very intimidating, actually.
It's a nice butt plug. It's a nice butt plug to try. We gave it to some people to try out. So far, they said it's the perfect size. But there are some really, really fun toys in that box, and it is for people to try what they like. So it's a mix of clitoral vibrators, panty vibrators. There's a butt plug in there. There's a cock ring in there. And to be really honest, not everyone likes each toy, and that's also okay. But it is very fun to try out with your partner.
Well, it's my birthday's coming up in a few months.
Yeah. Hint, hint. Hint, hint.
You know, FYI. I don't know.
Are you ready for the butt plug?
I'm not going to tell you which item that Winxi mentioned sparked my interest, but
we'll play the game and find out.
We'll spin the card and see.
Yeah, I love it. And yeah, speaking of your, the Dream Team, and it's awesome that you're doing individual things for whoever wants to use it, and then also for couples. Is there any other advice you'd give for couples who are wanting to spice things up or approaching using it, maybe if they've never used any sex toys together?
I think to start before you even buy a sex toy, I think it's really good to communicate with your partner about it, because sometimes it can come over as a little bit shocking if you suddenly bring a vibrator or a toy into the bedroom and the other person is not expecting it, and they're like, oh my God, what's happening? So it's actually good to talk about it before and say, hey, how would you feel if I would bring a toy into the bedroom? And to be really open-minded, to be really honest, we have a lot of people tell us also, we don't want to use it. I don't want to use it. But for us, we're also like, just try it once. Try it. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, you've tried it, and you can, stop using it. It's not for everyone to use vibrators, but don't say no from the beginning. Just give it a go and be open-minded and see how the experience is.
Yeah, I mean, mostly agree with Winxi. I think communication is really key, and that's a lot of what we preach as the O Collective is everything comes with communication, and that's kind of the thing that hinders a lot of relationships. Actually, is kind of being too shy or not open to really say what you feel. And it is very hard to sometimes find that confidence to build it up in yourself to say it out loud. And we've also shared with partners like if you don't feel comfortable saying it out loud or face to face, a really good way is, you know, writing it down, whether it be like text or in a list or a shared notepad. A fun thing that we like encourage people to do is each to have like a shared maybe notes, and then you can add in all the things that you really wanted to try and do. And you don't have to say it to that person in their face. And then you can just share, like, if this is a hard no, then take it off the list. If you're willing to try, then keep it on. And it's just something to like, it's like a bucket list, right? You can check it off. And if you don't feel like you want to do it, you know, 3 months down the road, you can take it out. And it's a easier way to start those types of conversations.
I think that's great advice, and especially not to like just surprise somebody. I just had an image of kind of like, you know how like a magician might pull out some like a bouquet of flowers from his wrist, but instead of that, it's just like a dildo or a vibrator. Can you imagine that in a bedroom
I'm
setting?
sure that would be horrifying, right? For anyone to be like,
Ta-da!
Yeah, exactly.
Here is the butt plug.
Yeah. Now, do you want to see a disappearing act?
Exactly.
Abracadabra.
Oh my gosh. Please, nobody do that to
nobody mix magic and sex. I don't know. Is that a good disclaimer?
It might be a fun kink for people who are consenting to it.
What is it? Close hand? Is it close up magic and sex? Maybe wait until you've been on a few dates before you mix close up magic and sex. That's our official line from Date Night China. Disclaimer.
Yes. Yeah. Let's please make sure we're promoting consent. In every yes, that's very important.
Yes. Indeed.
So before we wrap up, you guys, are there any other advice or comments that you would give for men or women about their own sexual empowerment, sexual health and wellness, and just kind of how to become more empowered in themselves on their journey?
Yeah, I would say, like, don't assume what you know. I think that's really has been key, is we think that we know a lot of these things about men and women and partners and, you know, what is normal. But yeah, don't assume and ask questions. Be open to asking questions. And going back to communication, it's just so important to have that right consent and sharing, you know, what you're really thinking. And it's okay to, you know, not be okay with it. Like Winxi said, a lot of women that we encounter are like, yeah, this isn't for me. And that's totally fine. We totally encourage for everybody to do what works for them. And so, yeah, just do you, you know, pick, like always go with what you feel comfortable with, always making sure you ask a lot of questions. Yeah, have open communication.
Yeah, I think it's similar to what Diana mentioned, is to really be open-minded and to listen to what others have to say, but to also know yourself really well, because I also feel if you know yourself, then you also know what your boundaries are, when to say no, when to say yes, what do you like, what do you not like. And if you don't know yourself and you don't know what you enjoy, it's very, very hard to set up boundaries. And sometimes you might do things that you regret afterwards. And I do feel like the older you get, the more confident you are to say what you like and what you don't like. But yeah, for me, that's really important. For each person, it's really important to know yourself.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that. Now, before we go, we will in the article, and when we share the podcast, share links on how to find you. But is there any other ways, anything that you'd like to share about how people can find out about you and be in touch with your community and take a look at your products? How can people do that?
You can check us out we're on all social media platforms, from local to foreign. So we have Instagram, we have a WhatsApp group for like our foreign community. We have a WeChat community group. We have WeChat account. It's all at the O Collective. We have a .com, so we have a mini program and Taobao space. So you can essentially find us anywhere possible, as long as you're searching far enough.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And yeah, make sure you go.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank
Thanks
you guys.
a lot. Bye.
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 Bye-bye. Thank you.